I've completely it's been a while since I did the streams. Trying to do my intro here. Give me a second. Oh, they changed a lot of things on Restream. Where is the intros? Design. Oh, here we go. All right, we'll be right back. All right. Welcome everyone to the live stream. Sorry about that. I accidentally clicked go live and completely forgot what I was doing. It's been a couple of months since I probably did a live stream, so just getting used to the rhythm again. And looks like Restream, which is the platform I use, changed quite a bit of things. So wasn't really used to their UI as of yet. In any case, thanks for folks who are joining. Couple of housekeeping tips before, or housekeeping comments before jumping into some of the things I want to talk about today. First is always welcome folks that want to join. I'll leave a link. Let me post it right now. Leave a link in the chat. You guys can hop on and then we can just have a little conversation. Always welcome folks because it's much more fun to have a dialogue with someone than just talking by myself. So there's that. And then as the live stream goes on, I definitely do these live streams just to try my best to address questions and just like engage with the community as much as I can. So if questions come up, definitely, let me actually add the chat overlay. If questions come up, definitely add them to the chat and I will do my best to address them as well. Hold on, looks like Facebook might be, okay, we're good. So those are the housekeeping things. A couple of things I wanted to talk about today. It's all over the place. I wasn't entirely sure what I want to talk about, but I'll share some interesting things that are on my radar. Maybe a couple of points on some of the posts that I've made in the last, I think, 2 or 3 weeks, which is about jobs. There's a lot of comments and messages about that, so I want to talk about that. And because of how much I believe in FHIR, fast healthcare interoperability resource, that FHIR, not the FHIR financially independent retire early one. I care about both, but I want to talk about more of the former today. I want to share a couple of tools that I've used and continue to use that I found was like a aha moment for me in learning FHIR. So I want to share that with everyone. All free tools. Just takes time to just jump in and learn about them. And then maybe the last piece, just to have a couple of comments about the different projects that I'm working on, which is almost non-existent right now. And I'll maybe start with a couple of other comments before jumping into all these things. So anyways, that's kind of what I'm thinking for today. And then, yeah, feel free to jump in with any questions and comments that you guys might have. So first comment is just, it's been a pretty busy last few months. I've been heads down doing a lot of work. So I haven't been really active in a lot of places. Haven't seen a lot of people, but also I've been traveling pretty much every week this month, and then every like 2 or 3 weeks. Not every 2 or 3 weeks. I had 2 or 3 times a month in the months prior. So pretty busy with a lot of different things, and I've been pretty heads down with just doing work and focusing on a couple of personal stuff. So apologies. I know a lot of folks have been reaching out, and I just haven't been able to get in touch. Anyways, let's start with a couple of interesting things that I think is on my radar, and I think could be interesting to you guys as well. The first thing is, I'm going to share my screen, pull it up. Share this one. Is this, being more of a informatics type, channel. Uh, I think there's a lot of interest in, or my personal interest in talking about AI and just monitoring what's going on with the AI world. This is definitely one of them. I haven't actually gotten to it yet. This was, a couple days ago, 5 days, and I think it's interesting to, monitor what the federal government is thinking when it comes to artificial intelligence. There's obviously a lot of commotion and just discussions around AI, where it's headed, where the opportunities are. I even made a post about it yesterday about how I think applications really is a unique place of opportunity, especially for those of us in healthcare. But I think a lot of these things is constrained by the regulatory space, and what the federal government decides to do or what direction they're headed can really change the landscape of AI. So I think monitoring things like this is very important, especially if you're thinking about jumping into AI of any kind. But anyways, this is one thing. Just want to point this out if you guys haven't heard already. If you're in the AI space, you probably already aware of this. But in case you're not, definitely something to check out. It's still on my list to read. Probably do it this weekend. Related to that, let me pull it up. Health Advisory Committee is another thing, which is the FDA's Digital Health Advisory Committee. I actually applied for this as well, so I'll see what happens. I've never applied to any of these federal committees before. I've obviously been in the ONC, so I've been in the federal space, but never from like the outside participating in. So this one should be pretty interesting. If I get in, I don't know if that would be the case, but this is very interesting because I think there will be a lot of perhaps tactical things that come from this, like the recommendations. So if you think about the former, where I was talking about the executive order on AI, that's probably more of the um, oops. That's interesting. That's my good old buddy there saying, "Why does it say I'm playing StarCraft 2?" I don't know. It probably is a default setting. This also streams to Twitch, and I think when I was streaming last couple times, I was streaming myself playing games. I'm a big StarCraft, Blizzard, Warcraft kind of fan. Anyways, no, I'm not playing games. I'm just chatting, Wilson. Anyways, the Digital Health Advisory Committee, I think, will be more of the tactics when it comes to regulating AI. So again, the former with the White House executive order, that's probably more of the strategy. And then I think you'll get more of the tactics that comes out of this. So if you're interested and have a lot of domain expertise, I think it'd be great to have you guys apply. I want to contribute back. I think there's a lot that we can do in terms of informing the direction of where AI goes. And so something to share. Interesting. I think they are December 11th. So plenty of time. Definitely submit your applications. It was pretty easy. Not much materials that they collected to apply. You can self-nominate. All right. And then the last thing, there's usually a lot of things on my radar, but I actually have not been keeping up very well. So I don't have as much as I typically would. But the last thing here is the 2023 ONC annual meeting. It's free. It's in person, and I think they usually stream it too. Live podcasts. I think they stream it too. I think I attended the one last year, and even the year before when it was via web. So I imagine it's probably streaming as well. Anyways, it's free. Definitely go check it out. They have a lot of folks from different areas of health IT come and speak. And so you hear a lot about what's going on in the current landscape, which I think is kind of related to the job thing that I want to talk about later is just being aware of what's going on in the industry is very important. So obviously knowing what you're doing, having the domain expertise, the technical expertise in performing a job is important, but knowing what's going on in the industry, what experts are saying, what your peers and colleagues are saying is very important. So I think these type of meetings are great for that. And they also talk about a lot of things that are probably important as well. So let me see, if you hit the register to find out, um, you can go over there and see what they're going to be talking about. They usually grab a lot of different stakeholders from public and private. Here's the agenda. And if you're in person, you can register to attend in DC. I will definitely be there to go check it out. I like free things, so I'm always around when there's free things. So yeah, these are the agenda. Definitely check that out. So hopefully that is on your radar. The other thing is about jobs. And let me see if I can pull up that post. So there's some more things about it. I made 2 posts in the last maybe month about jobs, and I think they had a decent amount of traction. Let me pull one of them up. Where is it? One is this one. How do you grab to this post? Copy a link to this post. Okay, I'm just pasting it in. Give me a second. Okay, let me share this one. This is the first one. I don't have too much to say about this. I don't think I got a lot of questions about it per se. Just that I think it's really cool if you look at the job description where they call out a PharmD, which is something I don't think I've ever seen on any of the job postings I've come across, unless it was like a specific, we're hiring a position for PillPack, from Amazon, which is, obviously a pharmacy oriented position. But outside of that, I've applied, 2 years ago, when I was looking for jobs, I applied to over 100 different jobs and none of them had a PharmD. So I thought that was really cool. And, kind of a plug here. If you're interested, definitely encourage you to apply. The other one is the one that kind of gained a lot of traction, or rather traffic. Let me see if I can pull that one up. And that is the one from Google Health. So let me pull that one up. Let me share my screen. Here it is. So this one, I'm just going to read it. This was a consumer health clinical specialist at Google Health. Typical what you would expect and what I expect from these, they usually look for MDs, PhDs, and usually nurses in these types of positions. So that's one. They don't usually list PharmDs, unfortunately. There's a lot of clinical experience. They prefer people who have a digital health kind of background, launching products, working cross-functionally, a little bit of clinical research, things like this. So there's a lot of comments that was on here. And I think a couple of just general observations. The first of which is there was a lot of healthcare professionals, pharmacists, nurses, PTs, even some dentists, plenty of physicians, of course, making comments around how this position, is it open to non-MD DOs? And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because there was a lot of comments and messages, a lot of messages that I got about this. And the first thing I'll say is I'm not affiliated with Google. I don't have any ties to this position. My main MO in general is to get more healthcare professionals working in informatics / technology type companies, because I really think that's where innovation happens. So that's the only reason I'm sharing it because I want more people in it. So that's the first thing. So there's no point in reaching out to me about this because I'm not the hiring manager. I'm not affiliated with the position. That's the first comment. The second comment, which is more direct to that observation, which is I've always been on the side of, even if I don't meet the requirements or qualifications of a job, I'll still apply. If a job is interesting to me enough, I I don't think it hurts to apply. Perhaps maybe, the time and effort that you spend applying to these positions. But if you've ever applied to a Google position, they're pretty easy to apply to. There's not much you have to fill out. Probably takes like 10, 15 minutes, assuming you already have like a resume already. But they're pretty low effort to apply to. The only thing I'll say about applying to positions that maybe is like would be more worth your while is having some type of referral. I think, 2 years ago when I was looking for jobs, that's one of the main factors in determining whether I would even move past the application process. And of course, if you apply to like a lot of jobs, it does add up. So, one thing I'll say about applying to jobs, perhaps even ones that you may not qualify for, is just the idea that if you have a referral when applying, it's might be more worth your time. So, if you had interest in this, definitely encourage you to reach out to your network and then grab those referrals. I think that's the first observation, and then maybe I already commented on the other one, which was just yeah, I don't think there's many other ones. Just the fact that I'm not affiliated with this position, so don't reach out to me about it because I can't really influence who gets that role. Okay, so let me see. That was the points about jobs. The next thing I'll spend some time on, and hopefully this will be interesting to you, is just talking about fire. I did post something about that recently as well, but I want to share a little bit more beyond that. And let me see here. I'm gonna go to that post. This one. Copy the post. Here we go. Let me share my screen again so you guys have an idea. I thought this was fantastic. So I don't remember how I came across this, but HL7, which is a standards development organization or SDO, is responsible for many of the interoperability tools, if you will, or solutions, especially for healthcare. HL7v2 is one of the common standards that's used worldwide in when you exchange data between just any health entity. So your pharmacy to your doctor to your insurance, uh, all those kind of things. HL7v2 is pretty dominant. But now we're very interested in using fire, and fire has taken the world by storm. And so I don't remember how I came across this, but I thought it was really cool because they have this virtual student academy that has a ton of free resources, and we like free. I think most of them were actually free. So this is the actual website. I haven't gone through some of their stuff. I may have attended some of their webinars in the past just from general advertising purposes, but I thought this was fantastic. Things like Fire 101 for policy. Um, I'm not familiar with this. I'm just like looking through it. Yeah, lots of Fire 101s, case studies, careers. Like I think this is a fantastic resource. Going back to my original MO, I'm not selling anything. I don't have anything to promote. I just want more healthcare professionals to get into technology, get into informatics, because that's where I think the innovation's happening and there's a lot of benefit we can do. So, not selling anything. Thought this was really cool. If you have time and you have interests in learning fire, getting more involved in interoperability, and interoperability is everywhere. You need interoperability to do a lot of healthcare stuff nowadays, especially because of care coordination. So, highly encourage you, especially if you are a clinician, to get into or learn more about this. And this is a great resource. Let me see. So sharing that was cool. I was so glad to see more and more people sharing or reposting it. So I appreciate that. Free resources are great, and I think sometimes resources just aren't used because there's a lack of awareness. So I'm glad people reshared that. Oh, it looks like I have a bot. I will ignore the bot. Anyways, I'm going to share a couple of tools now that I personally use and still use in, when it comes to learning about fire, using fire, implementing fire. And it's kind of use case specific. Um, the first one I'm going to share that I absolutely love is, I don't know what's the best word for it. Um, I call it like the NLM, the National Library of Medicine tool, the LHC fire tools. This is LHC is Lister Hill National Center. I actually interviewed for a position. And that's how I came across this. This is 2 years ago, by the way. I interviewed for a position that was related to this in terms of building this up. That's how I found out about it. And then as I began to work in fire, I realized how insanely valuable this tool was. And I would bet that there are, especially in the fire community, to be honest, most tools in the fire community are free. Everyone's values or their perspectives in the fire community is typically to offer free tools. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a ton of these out there, different types of tools for different use cases. So this one, just to give some quick overview, is all about building forms or questionnaires or surveys or ePros when it comes to fire. So anytime you are filling out some form, let's say a provider is filling out a H&P, history and physical, a patient is filling out, those like those surveys, those intake surveys, when you get admitted to a patient, admitted, or you're seeing someone for the first time, those forms, there's forms all over healthcare. This is an amazing tool for learning all about how forms work in fire. And I'll share three, or maybe just two parts of this. The two main parts that I use. There's a lot of other tools that are very important, like the UCOM tools, the mapping validators and stuff. But the ones that I've personally used and still use is the form builder, the SDC questionnaire app, and the questionnaire viewer. What's nice about this is you actually don't have to download anything. Everything's web-based. For those who are just getting into fire, it's reduces the barriers of entry quite a bit. But let me just jump into it just to show you guys a demo real quick. So this is a form builder. You can build forms in Fire with a nice UI. So if I click on this, it'll take me to this. You gotta click these, accept these things saying you're accepting the terms of use. Just hit all those, hit accept. And there's a couple things you do. Let's just go ahead and start off with a brand new form. Okay. Click OK. Pretty nice. It's a web-based. I'm going to say let's call this like an intake form of some sort. You can give it a code. So some code like a LOIN code that captures the specific form that you're filling out. So let's say it's an H&P, a progress note, a consult note, in this case, maybe an intake form, whatever. If you have those codes, you can put it here. So you have that option. You can set your form to a specific status. Let's just keep it draft for now. You can give it a URL if you want a description. This is an intake form, something like this. And then once you have like the general metadata of the form, you can go ahead and create questions. And then here, we can give some general questions. So let's say, what is your name? All right. You can, again, give it a code if you want. Give it a help text. So let's not give it a help text. I just get this as a string. We don't want it repeating. Repeating is like you ask it multiple times. So we don't need to do that. Let's make this required, not read only. And that is your name. What's really cool about this is I think when you're learning Fire or you're not as tech savvy in the beginning, which I like kind of like that, is you can kind of see what this looks like as you're building it. So one example is here. So I haven't done much. I only added some general metadata and then a question. You can preview this. So if you click preview, you can actually see the form rendered and you can actually use it. So my name is Brian, but you can also see the Fire questionnaire. And this is like super cool to me. So If you're not familiar with Fire, this might not make a lot of sense, but basically, it gets the output of this is a Fire resource that then you can use to interact with the Fire community, and it's just absolutely amazing, especially for individuals that are less technical. You can interact using these types of tools, and again, there's a lot of these types of tools out there. But let me just show a couple more things with this. Let me go insert another question. What is your age? Yeah, what is your age? Let's do that. What is your age? Let me give a code. So let me just say like some random code. Let's just say it came from moink.org. This is what is your age? Please type in your age. And because age is, let's say, a number, we want to give it an integer. UCOM is units, so let's say year. Same thing here, make this required and no. And then I can, again, preview this. So I can say, what is your name? What is your age? And then you see the help text I have here. Please type in your age. I can say, I am, I just turned 21 recently, so I'm 21. And then view questionnaire, and there it is. It's still blows my mind how awesome this tool is, but you'll see more in a little bit. I'll show one more thing and I'll move on to the next thing I want to show with the forms. But let me add another, let me see. This is a secret question. So let me do this. I'm going to demonstrate branching. That's another thing that's pretty nice, right? When in healthcare, because we have so much documentation burden in healthcare, one of the nice things that those of us on the implementation side should always be thinking about is how do you reduce clicks? How do you make the user experience better? And branching is a way of handling that. In Epic, we used to use like cascading questions a lot. And it's basically branching. If they answer a certain way, you may or may not show the next question. So we can do this in Fire as well. And so what we want to do is let's just keep it as is, make this required and no. And on the advanced fields down here, you can actually set, let's say age. Let's say my age is less than 21. Oh, wait, no. I want to do, let's say, greater than or equal to. So if I'm greater than or equal to 21, then this question will appear. You can set this, all conditions are true. You can set this, we'll talk about this next, but we can basically do this. And then let's go ahead and preview this. So what it's going to do, same thing, if I enter my name, if I say 18, nothing happens. But if I say 25, then the secret question appears. Appears because I entered greater than or equal to 21. So it's very cool. And again, once again, it is in Fire. So that's cool. Now, what I'll show next, let me actually I need to give it a code. Because I want to show the next part, which is, let me do example tests. I think these are terrible examples. Let me just use link for all these. Code. Okay. Let me set this field down here to observation extraction. Okay, I think that should be good. And then I added codes, and then you can see what that does. So let me see. So this is the first question. What is your name? And then this is all associated together. So that name has a code, and that code has this system and this display. So what I want to do next, and one of the important things about forms and in general, especially in EHRs, if you're familiar with EHR configurations, which I imagine most in my network is familiar with, is we like discrete data, like as in like this, like what is your name, what is your age, like you have a discrete question and answer because you can use that to do a lot of decision support down the road. So having discrete data allows for that. The next thing here is when it comes to forms, it's the same exact thing. If you want to do decision support based on a form, then you want discrete data. And the way we do it in Fire is via something called structured data capture. You can read about it if you want, if you have an interest in like forms per se. But let me just show this page real quick, and I'll jump back. This is structured data capture, and there's a lot of things in here. What I want to show next is the data extraction piece, which thinking with that decision support mindset again is how do you, once you have a form in Fire and a patient answers the form, how do you actually extract the data out, which let's say, they said they are greater than 21. They said they're 25 or 26 or 21 versus if they said they're 14. You might drive decision support where you might have a pediatric versus an adult, something like that. But you need to extract that in a certain way. And so there's something called data extraction that they talk about in here. This is also just you can just Google this and you'll find it. And there's a couple of methods on how you can extract the data. The easiest one is something called observation based, and that's what I'm going to show you. So if I go back to this, we want to extract each one of them. And to do the extraction, I was giving each of these codes because that's required to do the extraction. And I can demonstrate this without doing any coding, doing any installations and stuff like that. Because of this tool, I can just use their Fire server to upload the form to their server and then interact with the form using their server. And I'll show you that. So the form's, more or less done. Then this export. I want to create a new questionnaire. So in Fire, we call all of these questionnaires on the Fire server. And the Fire server, you can choose a couple of them. The first one is just the Fire server hosted by the NLM. So that's an easy one because then you can use their tools. So if I go ahead and just hit continue, this is a response from the NLM's Fire server saying this is cool. You created one. So this is the ID of your form you just created. And here's all the things that just came with it. So I'm going to close that. What I'm going to do now is show you that data extraction part. So that was in the form builder. Now this is the questionnaire app, and SDC stands for structured data capture, as you can see here, and that's what I was talking about. If I go into here, it's just a web-based app that they built that allows you to extract the data. And so there's a couple of things. This is implemented uses Smart on Fire. That's what this all is just like, I'm not sharing my screen. It resembles what it would be like if you were in the EHR. So it's a pretty cool experience. So you got to log in, you can pick whatever, log in, you got to pick a random patient, go pick a patient. And then because I created a form and uploaded to their server, it will actually appear over here. So I have an intake form here. So now my Fire questionnaire is hosted there. I can actually interact with it and then subsequently extract the data out of it. And all of this is very important because in the back end, this is what needs to happen to do things like decision support. So let me show you real quick. Type in my name. I'm going to say I am 21. I have a secret answer. And what I can do next is when a individual responds to a questionnaire, what we get back is something called a questionnaire response. I know it's very trivial. And the questionnaire response is then what's used to do the data extraction afterwards, or the structured data capture. So I have this filled out. This is enough information to generate my questionnaire response. So I can do that by looking at it. You can show it. So this is a questionnaire response. You can see this up here. This is a fire question and response, and it captures every question and answer that someone has put in, right? So now what I need for decision support purposes is usually that I need to like pull each one of these out so then I can run, do other things to it. And the way that's done, not this one, is here. And hopefully this works because this is all a live demo. So is this question and response, but also observation. So I showed it in the other screen. This is the observation-based method of extracting data from a fire question and response. So if I click on this, it takes a second. This first one is the question and response that you just saw, but these other three are brand new file resources for observations. If I click on that, it's going to share another screen. So now I have a brand new resource observation that captures just that specific code, or rather that question that has a code, that question text here, and then the answer that they add. But they give a lot of other metadata that is captured with it. So when you're implementing Fire, this is one of the things you use to do things downstream. So actually, let me go back to the where is it? This one. Let me pick another one. So here's an observation resource. Oh, no, that's not the one I wanted to show. I want to show the one with the age. Okay, here we go. So if you're implementing Fire, let's say, and you have a different message or a different piece of content or different types of drug recommendations you would give to a adult versus a pediatric patient versus a geriatric patient, you might say, hey, we need to do this. And the way we should be doing this is by looking for observation resources that have this code, which represents their age, and then checking against this value. And because we have all this nicely laid out, we know the exact layout of it. We know how to go in and look for it. To be honest, you'll probably look for these things in the patient resource. The patient resource probably captures the birth date, and the birth date would have all these other things. But this is just an example of how you can drive decision support based on fire surveys. There's a lot more I can share about this, and I do plan on sharing a pretty in-depth tutorial at selfish plug real quick, if you don't mind. Open Clean Tech. I'll be sharing everything there. I don't know if I think I've talked about this quite a few times, but basically, if you go under Learn, I'm going to be capturing everything in here. So it's coming. I'm trying, I just haven't had time to do it, but I think these types of tutorials, especially for people who are interested in jumping into Fire, would be very beneficial, hopefully. But I'll be putting it in there at some point once I have more time. In any case, let me stop sharing. That's one of the tools that has really been a aha moment for helping me learn about fire questionnaires, questionnaire responses, how data is extracted. And it's just about doing. And I think you saw how easy that was. I didn't have to install anything, and you can just jump in and learn. So highly encourage you guys to do that when possible. The other thing, and I don't think I'm going to go too deep into this. Where's my share tab? Oh, here it is Postman. I'm not going to go too deep into this because what I wanted to share would actually be on. Hold on, let me just make sure there's nothing showing. I'm going to sign in real quick. If you haven't noticed too, a lot of my favorite things is just post this here, is web-based tools. No need to install anything. You just go to a website and you can start learning or doing things. And I think that's very important when you're not coming from the technical space. It's an easier way to learn. And once you start learning, then you can dive deeper if you want. But I think it's a great intermediary to jumping into something more technical, or you can just stay in this space where it's like you use a lot of web-based tools to learn because you can do a lot of amazing things with it. So Postman, I won't talk too much about it, but this is one of the other aha moments when it comes to learning about REST APIs. Postman is a web-based solution. I just logged in here, and you can basically interact with APIs. I don't know if I have one that is. Let me see if I. This is the one I actually used to write my CPIC application a couple months ago. Let me see if this works. Yeah, it does work. Basically, seeing is believing. And this is an API basically allows you to connect to some other system. It could be DoorDash, it could be the federal government, it could be your bank. But APIs is like the key. And why are we talking about APIs? Because Fire revolves around APIs. It is the main way, the main mechanism of communicating from one health entity to another. So understanding how APIs work is really, really helpful. And for me, it was an aha moment to learning Fire. And Postman, free, web based, super easy to learn. I won't get too much into it because I actually go pretty in, not in depth, but over I think like 10 minutes. Um, I literally walk you through how to do all those things. And if you haven't checked it out already, you can visit this YouTube playlist. Just organizes the videos. They're like 1 to 2 minutes long. You can watch it and go through an example yourself. Again, no installation, and you can learn how to basically, in that tutorial, I teach how to create patient resources in Fire, how to interact with it when you update it, delete it, modify it, things like that. But yeah, so this right now, let me just explain this real quick. There's different CRUD operations. That's how you interact. So in this case, get is like just getting information, and you pick a URL. So in this case, I'm grabbing information from CPIC. For those of you who are not aware of CPIC, it's like the Clinical Pharmacode Genetics Implementation Consortium. So they have guidelines for how you handle pharmacogenomics. And there's guidelines here. So in this case, I can grab the guidelines straight using their API. And I don't remember what this was grabbing, but you send them a little message, or you send them this call, an API call, and they'll bring back all this information. So there's a ton of information. So you can basically use this to build different apps and stuff on top of this. Very, very cool. Again, another one of those aha moments came from just using Postman. The last thing I will share, and I actually just started using it recently, and there's a lot of cool tools on it. This one might not be as cool until you've jumped into Fire a little bit, but it is. Give me a second. Simplifier.net. There's a lot of things in here that is super useful. One of the things that I've been using it for recently is something called Fish, which is Fire shorthand. And let me show you. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Again, everything in the Fire community is like open, free, and all this kind of stuff. So you can just search this stuff. Fish. That's how we pronounce it. It stands for Fire shorthand. And it's about, you use Fish to write Fire implementation guides. If you haven't looked at any Fire resources before, that's all pretty much Fish. And you use that to create the implementation guides to say, hey, when you're sending patient information, you need a name, you need a birth date, you need an address. Implementation guides specify that those things are needed or not needed. And then you use Fish to write those things. And especially for clinical people, where you have an idea of what is needed in a particular use case in healthcare. For example, if you're trying to adjust the dose of vancomycin for this patient that has this raging pneumonia, you probably need to know, okay, what is their serum creatinine, right? What is their age? Are they a male or female? And these are the inputs that are required to calculate a creatinine clearance. You probably need to know their weight. Like, anyways, basically, you need to know certain types of information to do this use case, which is dosing vancomycin. So if you're a clinical person, this is a very useful thing to learn because you can use fish to communicate with developers on what exactly needs to be implemented. So you might write an implementation guide that says, if you want to dose vancomycin or other narrow therapeutic index drugs, then I might want to write an implementation guide that says, you need this, which is all the things I just talked about, and these resources, and this is, anyways, it's a great thing. And I'm like kind of belaboring the point here. Oh, is there any Verily PGX initiative? Um, I I I I can't speak on behalf of the company, so I probably just can't answer questions about the company in general. So apologies there. I just rather not speak on what the company is doing, and I actually don't know don't know myself. If there is some initiative around it, it will probably be searchable online. But I just can't comment on things that are happening in the company. Okay, so why I'm bringing this up, I actually just started using this yesterday for this purpose, but it has a nice way of learning fish. And so fish, you can see it down here if I click on that. And it's a pretty simple, intuitive code. It's shorthand, so it's like very minimal code. I don't even know if you would call this code, but you use it to specify the implementation guide. Now, why I think it's so helpful, especially for those who are less technical, is because there's a visual. I think the visuals are one of the key things that has been so helpful for me in learning fire. And in this case, over here on the left is your fish. I don't know why they only have one example, but this is an example of, they're writing an extension that says restricting it to something. I don't know. It's not a great example. But on the right-hand side is what the implementation guide will look like. And if you've ever looked at Fire, it will look something like this. And this is the type of stuff you want to write. So let's say you wanted to, what's a good example? Inputs. So maybe one of the things I might write is I'm actually not doing the guide, but you need to specify all the different pieces as in the fire resources that would go into the guide. I'm still learning how to write the guide, but you need to you don't need to, but it's nice to constrain those use cases in a certain way. And that's what a lot of what profiles and implementation guides are for, is to say, hey, when we're talking about serum creatinine, we're talking specifically about these LOINC codes. It's not just any serum creatinine. You have to be very unambiguous when it comes to implementing things on the back end. So let me see if I can grab one of the things I was using yesterday. Here it is. Here it is. Okay. So let me use this. This is not really pretty. I literally just playing with this yesterday. Let me grab this one too. Let me just paste the whole thing actually. Okay. So I was just tinkering with this yesterday, and it's nice to see how it looks. So learning by seeing is a key mantra here. So I have a code system, some random code system. So whenever you have to create codes, you have to use a code system. Instances, so examples of something. So if you wanted to like test, so using this thing, you might want to create an observation using this specific line code, which represents, let's say, the serum creatinine value sets. So you might want to constrain certain things where it's like, hey, we're only looking for MRSA antibiotics, not all antibiotics. You might constrain medication, a resource to only look for those specific, in this case, probably like RX norm codes or something. Profiles is what you would probably use for the implementation guides. But let's see. So what you do here, I have all this written out. Hit play. And it builds all these things for you. And you can see it. So I'll show you what happens if you wrote it wrong or something. So you can see, in this condition, which is, where is my condition? It's above the value set. There's two value sets. Example code. Oh, this is just defining it, so it doesn't show it. Observation. Anyways, so you can see this right here, this value set maps to this over here. Pretty self-explanatory, right? It's like saying, if you want to create a new value set, you just type this, you give it a computable name, you give it an ID, you give it a title, it all shows up here. You say what you want to include in the value set. So in this case, I'm including the active and the on hold codes from this system. You have to define all these systems so that system is up here, and that will bring that in like that. And then I have another one where I want to include all codes, not just specific codes, from this other system called fake CS. And this system has these example codes. And so all of those codes get pulled in. It's not a great example. I was just tinkering. And again, I just started using this yesterday. But it's a great way of learning fish. And there's a lot of benefits when you're a clinical person learning fish. But definitely check it out. I think that's most of the stuff I want to share about Fire. There's a couple of other great resources, but because we're kind of running long now on the live stream, I might start wrapping this up. Highly encourage you guys who are in healthcare to take a look at some of these tools. They're super helpful. A lot of it doesn't make sense, but the moment you start using it and you start seeing it and seeing, what the things you're writing does, it's an aha moment to learning about Fire. Because there's, I think, a lot of still, what exactly is Fire? What does it mean when you implement Fire? Well, this is what the type of stuff that once you start doing, and it doesn't take long, once you start doing, you really understand what does it mean to implement Fire or use Fire, and what are some of the challenges when it comes to learning Fire and things like that. All right. I think that is it. Thank you guys if you've been hanging out and listening to me just ramble on. I wonder if I have time for the next one is December 2nd. Oh, I'll be in mid-year. I don't know what the next one's going to be, but when it comes, it comes. I try to do these every Saturday and the first weekend of every month, and the next one I'll be in mid-year. So maybe that's the last thing I'll say is I'll be attending ASHP mid-year this year. It'll be the first time in person in like a couple of years, so I'm pretty excited. So if you're going to mid-year, I hope to see you guys there. Otherwise, thank you guys for tuning in. If you have any questions, definitely leave them in the comments, send me a message, or even better, ask them on these type of live streams, because that's the best time to do it. All right, guys, hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I'll see you guys next time.